the platforms. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday's morning's edition of Contracting Chatter. I'm your host, Luciana Turner. I hope you had a restful evening. Pull out your contractor's notebook, your favorite beverage, grab your business bestie. I'm just watching the replay of President Biden's speech last night from the DNC. I'm not going to replay the entire speech. It was just, to be honest, I didn't listen to the end of it. I fell asleep. Um, I fell asleep. It was just, I had a long day yesterday and it was late when he took the stage. It just is what it is. But there's a little over 70 days until the election, and they're hosting the DNC. And I was hoping to hear what Kamala's official platform was last night. And I thought their slogan for the evening was very interesting. When we fight, we win. I thought that was very interesting. And it's true. When you fight, you win. When you fight for your business, you win. When you fight for your life, you win. You win when you fight. I don't care what kind of fight, what type of fight you're in. When you fight, you win. So that is a true slogan. I thought that was great. I know that's when she accepts the nomination, but you still have a release of the platform. She should have released her platform when she decided that she was taking Joe Biden's spot. We should know what her presidency is going to look like. We've known what Trump's presidency is going to look like from day one. We have no clue what hers is going to look like. And to be honest, night one of the DNC, I would have thought Joe Biden was still running for president. We saw a great review of his political career. I mean, they gave him props. He has been in politics for 50 years. I think they gave him his due. And it was, and I don't care how you fall on the political spectrum. He's been in the body politics for over 50 years, and he is due his due. And I grew up in Delaware, so I'm familiar with Joe Biden. So yeah, he was due his due, and they gave it to him last night. However, I would have thought he was still running for president after looking at last night. I really would have. Because all I heard about is his accomplishments, what he's done. I heard very little other than they tried to focus on what she did. Now, I did see where they're trying to change the narrative around her. They did try to focus on what she did or what she accomplished for child care advocacy when she was Attorney General in California. The mayor of Los Angeles talked about her passing some sort of law or her fighting for some sort of law. But here, I'm going to talk about Roe versus Wade in a minute. Law to help children who aged out of foster care. So they're really trying to rewrite or re-envision her record because she's been getting roasted. about her record in her time as prosecutor, as attorney general in California. She has been getting fried. So they did try to reshape that, and I think you're going to see a lot more of that this week. Now, as for Roe v. Wade, I'm trying to figure out what the big deal is. Roe v. Wade has been overturned more than a flapjack in a diner. So why is it a big deal now? Roe v. Wade has been overturned so many times that people are making it such a big deal now. I don't get it. This is not the first time Roe v. Wade has been overturned. If people, and it's not the first time Roe v. Wade has been overturned for this reason. So I don't get it. I do not get it at all. I do not get the big upheaval. I do not get this whole the shenanigans that are people, or I don't get it. I don't get the I don't get it. This is not the first time Roe versus Wade has been overturned. And you know what? It won't be the last. Until Congress do its job and pass a federal rule, which is what the Supreme Court ruling says, is going to get overturned again. So, whatever. Um, yes, but last night, the first night of DNC was basically a homage to Joe Biden. I thought it was touching. He actually looked good when he hit the stage last night. So he got some rest. I did see an overwhelming push and overwhelming appeal to unions. And if anybody knows anything about history, unions used to be overwhelmingly Democrat. You could count on unions to vote Democrat. If you were a union member, you were known to vote Democratic. The unions lost sway with the Democrats in late 80s, early 90s. And then in the 2000s, they really lost their pull with the Democrats. So I saw a big push to reinvigorate and to really reignite the unions behind the Democratic tickets. I also thought it was interesting that they went and pulled out the title Lincoln's Republicans. They went there last night. They went all the way there. So it was interesting what we saw last night. There was this pull towards patriotism. I wasn't surprised. It's been a while since we've seen the DNC go red, white, and blue to that extent. I haven't seen that since the 80s. And I always listen to the body politics. My grandfather was very active politically. And my family was very active politically. So I've always paid attention. I wasn't political, but I paid attention to what was going on. So a lot of what they were doing, I paid attention to, and I caught the homages and the signaling that was going on. And as people say, the dog whistling that were being sent out. So there was a lot of no policies as of yet. I do know that Kamala Harris did in her speech in Pennsylvania reach out to the average working person and she's calling for this reinvigoration of the middle class, but she hasn't said how she's paying for it. The mobile surgery bus is something is not new, and it's something from 19 the late 50s, early 60s. She went back in her hat and pulled that one out. That's not new, and that isn't even her idea. And the reason I remember that, and it's funny that she said that was in a movie I was watching recently. So when I heard her say that, I was like, she went way back in her hat and pulled that one out. The mobile surgery buses was something that was brought out. I can't even remember the man's name, but it was in the 50s, 60s, the late 50s, early 60s. So that's not even unique to her. And I'm not saying that every politician has to come up with a unique idea, but couldn't she give him credit for it? It wasn't a unique idea, and it wasn't her idea. But once again, she had the economists worried because how are we paying for this? And all she can say is return on investment, which typically means the people who are going to benefit from it are going to be the ones paying for it. So people need to pay attention to that. Anytime somebody use the term return on investment, that's business terminology, means what you pay for or what you pay into it is going to then yield a return. That means if I pay $10,000 to work for you, then I expect that $10,000 to yield a return of X number or X factor. So she keeps using this return on investment terminology. So every dollar she's going to pump into these new social programs, she expects the participants or the recipients to then pump money back into the system to pay for these programs. However, I am still concerned that she has not placed anywhere in writing her official platform. And what I feel what was done last night was infer she's running a Joe Biden platform, sprinkled with some of her ideas. And I think that's what a lot of people who are supporting her is doing. They're assuming, excuse me, she's running a Joe Biden platform. So we can expect her to push and promote his policies, his infrastructure plan, his energy bills, which means that his business ideologies will be hers. I'm not comfortable doing that. I'm not comfortable giving an analysis based upon something that's not in stone. And even though she has hinted at and sprinkled and made certain statements, as we know in the body politics, anything verbal, we can't hold them to. We can only hold them to something in writing. She didn't even agree to his platform when she ran against him and as VP. So, right, Kiki, I don't know. The only thing we know that she wants to do is the mobile medical vans. And why do you want to do that? Is it because of the current geopolitical status that we're in? Because of that, those mobile vans will come in handy. Because geopolitically, they need them. The Middle East is the hotbed. Everybody's looking over there at Palestine and Israel. Everybody's looking at the Ukraine. You're sleeping on what's going on with China, Japan, and Taiwan. There's a whole mess brewing over there. And that's going to affect us because our troops are stationed over there because of the treaty, the World War II treaty. We are obligated to protect Japan. And I believe, and I have to go back and check because I'm not sure. I believe we have some sort of obligation to Taiwan. So, yeah, geopolitically, we have some things going on. I know the lease on Taiwan, the American lease on Taiwan is up. If it isn't up, it's up soon. So, China's looking towards Taiwan. Nobody wants them to have Taiwan. If they take over Taiwan, it puts them in striking distance of Japan. We are obligated to defend Japan because of the treaty from World War II. So, geopolitically, these mobile medical vans will come in handy in the event of something happening over there. So, yeah, there's just a whole lot going on. So, what I don't know. Maybe tonight we'll get a we'll get closer to an official platform. And then for the person who made the comment about this was for her to accept the nomination, we have to remember she's already officially accepted the nomination, which was I found funny and premature because you officially accepted at the DNC. So yeah, but once again, last night was a great homage to President Biden. They did a great job. Recapping his presidency. I did a master class. It's on my right. I did a master class on his infrastructure bill. It's on my YouTube channel. So the push towards green energy that he did, that they're touting, that I don't know if she ever came out and said that she's keeping that. I don't know. It just seems like they're pushing certain things. So maybe she is going to keep the green initiative that he's touting. I don't see how that helped the middle class. Green vehicles cost more. They cost more to maintain. I think that the first two nights are going to be a change her image tour because her image is tarnished with parts of America. So I do believe they're going to try to change her image, which is why they are trying to highlight the good that she's done, especially as prosecutor. I believe the last two nights, hopefully, we're going to see an official platform from her. But right now, I can't give an analysis because there's nothing officially in writing. All we have are the dribs and drabs that she's given in speeches. I do know what she gave in her speech in Pennsylvania. Have some economists worried because there's no pain. But I do know this, and thanks for forwarding that video to me. But I heard them talking about it last night. I don't think she is going to release her official platform until after the election. And it was something one of the pundits said that she will give her official platform and how it's going to be paid for after the election when she does her first presentation to Congress. That usually, normally, we would know that by now. We're 70 plus days from the election. We would know that by now. So, yeah. So, how will a Harris presidency affect us business owners? I don't know. I can't say. How will a Harris presidency affect government contracts? I don't know. I can't say. The way, the only thing I can say is so far, she seems to be leaning towards rebuilding the middle class, which is a lot of social programs. But the social programs she's talking about doing doesn't affect government contracts. So I really do not know. I can't say. Perhaps tonight we'll hear more about her official platform and how it will affect business. But I can't say based upon what I've heard so far, and when I checked her website, her official platform still wasn't up. So if somebody has seen in writing something from her, yeah, and some of her social programs already exist. So I'm trying to figure a whole lot of stuff out. Some of them already exist, and some of them aren't even her idea, like not taxing tips. That's not her idea. And it was never her idea. And it existed, expired. It wasn't her idea. Extending it. I heard, wait a minute, I did hear this. She wants to increase minimum wage for service workers, like restaurant workers, you know, waitress and bartenders. Currently, their minimum wage is $2 and some change an hour because they historically relied on tips. I know she was the deciding vote to tax tips, so it's interesting that she's now doing about face. She wants to increase their minimum wage to $15 an hour. And apparently, she's making a campaign pledge that within her first 90 days to push that to increase their minimum wage to $15 an hour. Because those industry workers typically don't vote. So to mobilize their vote, she's promising to increase their minimum wage to $15 an hour within the first 90 days. I found that interesting. So waitresses, waiters, bartenders, minimum wage will go up to $15 an hour, which then I would have to ask what happens to tipping, and then what happens to price, because I do know the profit margin on restaurants isn't that high because of food costs. So if you take minimum wage up to $15 an hour, that decreases the profit margin even I don't know. That would be interesting. Because I know in the food industry, period, the bulk of their profit is on drinks. So if the wait staff wages go up to $15 an hour, then that decreases the profit margin that they do have. So are we going to see a lot of restaurants closing? Or are we going to see an increase in restaurant prices, which is going to lead to restaurant closing anyway? I would love to see somebody do the um, cost benefit analysis. Um, because we have to keep in mind those those jobs, and that was never intended or designed to raise a family on. They were for high school students, college students. They were never intended to be lifelong jobs. They were intended to be stepping stools into your next career. They were never intended to be raised careers. I remember that congressional hearings where the CEO of Wendy's, she said the quiet part out loud. She said the fast food industry, the restaurant industry, was never intended to raise families, which is why the salaries were low. It was never intended to do that. So I don't know. We're going to see. I think we're going to see a lot of changes. We're going to see if a lot of the things that are being promised is going to pan out, and how it affects the restaurant industry, how it affects a lot of industries, period. So, and I'm streaming across multiple platforms, so it'll be interesting. But to wrap up this morning, day one of the DNC was basically an homage to those who have run before us. Great history left. You know what? I have to share this. That one speaker who talked about Waycross, Georgia. My father is from Georgia. So I actually knew about Waycross, Georgia. My father's from a little town not too far from Waycross, Georgia. So I actually knew where he was talking about. We drove through Waycross, Georgia to get to the town my father was born in. So I actually knew exactly what he was talking about. And that town is so small. I think the biggest employer in that town now is Walmart. So I knew exactly what he was talking about when he was talking about Waycross, Georgia. And it's very, and the fact that he came from that area and he's standing on the platform that he's standing on is an amazing thing. And it's inspiring. So I think that is something, I don't care where you land on the political spectrum, that is inspiring for anybody, that someone from such a small town, from a small corner of Georgia, most people have never heard of Waycross. And he's standing on that stage that he stood on last night. That is inspiration for anybody. And I think everybody can look at that and say, I can come from essentially nowhere and make a national stage and overcome obstacles to make a national stage. I think that deserves an applause in and of itself. I just had to make that statement because I knew exactly what town he was talking about when he talked about Waycross, Georgia. That was just wonderful. But with that, I'm going to look at day two and come back tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and give you my analysis. Perhaps we're going to get closer to an official platform. Good morning, Chosen. An official platform. Find out what she's talking about, what she's promoting. I'm not willing to say she's adopting President Biden's platform because she has never came out her mouth and said it. And I do not make assumptions. And the purpose of this analysis is not to tell anybody how to vote. The purpose of this analysis is to say her presidential platform will affect your business this way. So when you strategically plan, you can strategically plan in two ways because this is a presidential year. The person who occupies Pennsylvania Avenue affects your business. They influence the flow of dollars. They influence contracts. They influence legislation. So we have to understand that. That's why it's important to understand the process. With that, I invite you back tomorrow morning to as we analyze night two of the DNC. Today's day two. There's a whole lot of protests going on, and I may talk about the protests. You know, they broke through one of the barriers yesterday. A mess. um, and we're going to see if we get closer to an official platform. So keep it easy. Remember, a stressed mind will never create, and there's a compliance factor to everything. I'm Luciana Turner, your host for Contracting Chatter, and I will see you tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If anything super exciting happens, I'll go live again. But until then, I'll see you tomorrow morning. Have an amazing day.